Hi guys, so this aquarium here is one that's made up of like random fish I've got and a load of moss balls and some moss for some reason. Anyway, random fish are beautiful fish too, and they need a good aquascape. So let's sort this tank out. I'm gonna go for something low tech, but kind of like naturalistic looking. I've been doing some more sort of modern look or minimalist look style tanks recently. This one's gonna be full detail. Right, all sorted. Now the fish have been moved down to this tank, they're all safe. More on them later on. And the tank is here, ready for us to build like a proper production area. So many people know that I only normally use Opti-White tanks. Every single tank I own is Opti-White. That means there's low iron glass, so it's like more of a blue glass than a green one. Super clear, and it's got like tiny bits of silicone only on the edges. Well, that's obviously not the case with this tank. We've got big black silicone, it's thin glass, it's not anything special at all. This tank is super cheap, but that's fine. It's going to keep it in the theme that I'm going for, which is keeping costs low, low tech, and just really having fun with it all. Now, the light that it did have on it was very expensive, so I want to do a DIY version, and to do that I need to take this home so I can use my workbench to build like a stand, and then I can have the light attached to the stand and come, yeah, you'll see in a bit. So the tank is 40 centimeters wide and 25 back, but this is 30 centimeters, which is ideal because I want to mount the light on the back section. So perfect, I just need to do one cut. So that's the base sorted. Now I need the stand for the light to be attached to, which is this one. Now the height of the aquarium is 25 centimeters. I want to add 10 to that, so 35. There we go, so we know where our upright is going, so we can put 3 pilot holes in there for screws to be able to fix the upright. Right, there we are so far, nothing special. So next up we need to mount the light, which will go there, but I don't think that's coming out quite far enough, and I want a thicker bit at the back there to screw into. So I've cut another piece like this, I'm going to marry that up to it, and then when I drill like the screws all the way from this part here all the way through, it'll pinch everything together, be nice and tight, and it will come out just the right distance. There we go, it's on. All that's left to do now is paint it and also tack this cable to the back of there so it's all neat and tidy, and we're ready to put the tank on. Okay, we're looking good. All I need to do now is fit a little extension to this wire and then put a plug on the end, and then the light will work. We can put the tank on. Oh, there we go. It all fits great, looking good. I think we definitely need to mist that background though, because we want to, we want to make it look like the tank is deep. And as soon as you can see something behind like that, it instantly ruins that effect. Right then, we're looking great, we're ready to go. First thing we need to do is put in a nutrient layer. Now I'm going for a triangle composition, so I need the nutrient layer to be mainly like that across there, and then we can just put the decorative sand in the foreground. The plants will still grow into it, but that nutrient layer needs to be hidden and at the back. Now you can either just use aqua soil for something like this, but I've got a load of leftover material, so it's like aqua soil, sand and gravel that's all mixed together from previous scapes. And I just want to reuse it. There's no point wasting stuff, is there? So it'll be just as good. I'll add some, root tabs with it as well to give extra nutrients to the plants. But yeah, it should work really well. I've used it on many other scapes and it's done great. So that looks a little bit messy and not that realistic, doesn't it? Mainly because of the little perfect round circles of aqua soil. But that's why we put a decorative sand now all in that foreground area, and also, over the top of it a little bit where it overlaps, so we can put rocks in that area on the borderline. There we go, guys. Look how natural that looks. Now the beauty of this is nothing matches, does it? So it's all over the place, tons of different things. I've kept to the same sort of, lightness, if you like, to give it some sort of uniformity. That's right, yeah, uniformity. Yeah. So next up, we want to add in our sort of border rocks. No sort of strict line of them, but in the areas we want. Now it's a good idea to use stones that are a different colour to the substrate or to the decorative sand. It just works so much better. I've tried doing it before with them being similar, which is what you kind of would expect in nature, but it all kind of just merges into one and you don't get that great sort of pop effect. And these are the rocks that I've got to work with, locally sourced, looking awesome. Lots of little bits of detail in them, they're a nice grey colour. They go actually darker than this in the water, but they should look really good. Now I'm going to place them in, I don't even know yet, I'm just going to start putting them in, hopefully something works out good. Yes, I'm liking that. So what I've done there is left gaps for bits of wood to possibly go. I'm not sure what wood I've got yet or if it'll even fit, but that's where it'll sort of, I want it to trail over these bits of wood in sort of like a horizontally fashion, almost like it would have laid into a river. So the wood I've used here is called spider wood. Now it's the most commonly available wood in the hobby. You can get it anywhere, any of the shops, even in the chain shops seem to have it as well. Now if you can't, you can also order it online. But even if that's not an option, you can go out and just find sticks on the ground. Now you want to make sure that they're from a tree that is safe for aquariums. There's lists online of what wood is okay and what wood isn't. There's a few that are actually poisonous apparently to fish. But you need to make sure that the wood is a hard wood and not rotting away, but it needs to be dead as well, because if it's not, it just goes all fungusy and horrible. I mean, obviously the easiest thing is to just buy it from the shop, but we're trying to do this on a budget. So yeah, this usually is the cheapest kind of stuff you can find, this spider wood. So if you can source some, then do that. Now currently, if I was to fill this up with water, all of those sticks would float up, so we need to glue them down. And as you all know by now, I like to use the Gorilla Super Glue Gel. I really wish these guys would sponsor me. The amount of money I've spent on these things. You can only buy them in these little pots here, and they're quite expensive, but they do the best job I've found. So this is cyanoacrylate, which is completely fish safe, plant safe. It basically dries like a hard plastic, so it's all good to use. And what we want to be doing is just placing it in little areas where the wood touches the rocks or touches the other bits of wood, so it's like a framework that's all locked down. Right, it's now been 24 hours. You can see here that everything's stuck down. I can tap it and it's not moving anywhere. Now that's awesome, because when it comes to doing maintenance on the tank, that's going to really help out. You're going to inevitably knock the wood at some point when you're doing the cleaning, and this is just going to make it so much easier. Now what I really don't want to do is go over the top of the planting on this, so I'm going to keep it really simple. And to start with, I'm going to go over a nice piece of Java fern in this sort of middle area, and it's just going to look really good as a focal point. Yeah, really liking that, looking really good. Nice little focal point, don't want to go too big. But it is crying out for something to go behind it, and I'm talking a stem plant. It's one of my favourites, Limnophilia. I've got some down here in this tank. It's grown really nicely actually, and next to it down the bottom here, we've got some Monte Carlo as well. I think that would look really good in the foreground, wouldn't it? Just a few little bits of it, and I think that'll do. Let's just give that a go. So to prepare your potted plants here, it's so easy. Oh, there's a snail in that one. Perfect. You can go in already. There you go. Oh, there's another one on there as well. I think snails actually are really good for the tank. You know, they help keep algae down. Every one of my tanks has snails in, and we'll get onto that in a minute, but controlling the population is easy. You just don't overfeed the tank, and then their population sort of regulates itself. But anyway, about the potted plant. So remove it from its basket. I like to keep these things. They can come in useful later on, you know, for holding any plants down if you might need to. But this is rock wool, which is what soaks up the nutrients. It's a case of breaking it open, and then your stems are inside. You don't really want to get the rock wool into your tank too much. I find that it can cause algae issues because it's so nutrient dense. So yeah, simple. We've got one there. You can take off all the rock wool if you want. A little bit still on the roots is not going to hurt at all. There we go. So we've got like 5 or 6 really nice stems there. They should look great at the background area. Right, I think for me that's enough. That's looking great. I'm just going to keep it as it is and then just fill it up with some water. Maybe we'll add some more at a later date, I don't know, but for the moment, let's just see how that looks. yes, I'm actually really happy with the setup. I think it looks even better now that we've got water in it as well. Sometimes that isn't the case, but because we've got such a good amount of power coming out of this light for the size tank, it's just really making it look awesome. And to be honest, I don't even want to go any heavier on the plants because the Limnophilia will grow more and we can plug and replant. The Trident Fern will actually sort of spread out as well. And the Monte Carlo in the foreground is going to sort of go everywhere. It's going to creep, it's going to latch onto the gravel in all areas. Even this thin little section at the foreground, it'll still be able to grip hold of that, and it's going to go, imagine that, a full carpet at the bottom there of Monte Carlo eventually. You know, nice compact stems at the back, and that Trident Fern just getting more and more vibrant in that middle. I think that's enough. I don't want to do any more. But I'll tell you what we do need to do now, and that is get a filter on this thing. I mean, we could do it with no filter, to be fair, but the filters I've got are so small that I don't mind putting them on any scape at all, even the tiny, tiny ones. And the filter that we're going to be using is this one here. I've got it on quite a few setups actually. I've got it on this setup. I've got it on this setup. This water needs topping up, mind you, but yeah, it's the same thing. But it works an absolute treat. It's so tiny. Like, look, there's my hand against it. It's really small, so it's not impactful at all on the scape. All it has is that tiny little pipe in there, and an added bonus, you can cut. It has a little, you know, filter foam that goes over the inlet pipe, so shrimp can't get in. This is my little shrimp tank I did a while back. It's had a good hack back on the moss, which has exposed some of the brown stuff underneath, but still looking really, really good. Now the shrimp are producing babies. I've seen tons of little shrimplets flying left and right. I can't see any now because that's always the way, but there's loads and loads of new ones in there that are doing very well, so I'm loving that. But yeah, we're not looking at this tank, are we? So let's get that one fitted to the new one. Now these little filters, look, they do come with this little cartridgey thing. It's got some carbon in it and it's got a pad on it. I actually find that, you know, they're not that good, to be honest, because they're just stopping flow. They get clogged up so quickly with that fine stuff, so get rid of that. I mean, it keeps the cost down of the unit, so I understand why they do it. But I'm just going to add in some of my black filter foam into here. There's some in that section there, but I just put some more here like I do in all of them, and it works really, really well. So at this stage now, most people would need to start looking at cycling the tank or doing a fish in cycle. If you've got experience with that, again, that's not for beginners, but it's a way of doing things safely, but takes a lot of work. Anyway, I'm not talking about that at the moment because I can actually change out that sponge that I've just put in for demonstrational purposes to a sponge that's very much sort of cycled. So the tank that these guys were in before had a little internal filter in it, and here it is. So inside is the sponge. And you can see there, look, it's got some grime and everything on it, but we want to keep the, I'm just making a right mess now, aren't I? We want to keep the grime on it and just put that sponge into our new filter. So there we go, we're looking great, filter's ready, planted, and now we can put our fish in. Right, so the fish are going in, guys. Now we have got an really odd little mix here, but let me put them in first and explain as I go. First up, we have got the rocket killifish. Now don't worry, all the temperatures are the same. The tanks are heated by the room, so everything's good. There's a little rocket killifish there. He's just on his own, zooming about the place. So yeah, I did have a little group of rocket killifish. Now, I didn't have a setup for them after I broke one down, so I took them back to the shop just to be held for me. And this one stayed hidden, and it wasn't until later on I found him, so I was like, well, him or her, you've survived, therefore you shall continue with me. So that's why I've got that one. And then next up, I've got my Lyotau killifish. Look at the colours, looking absolutely great. Well, he was looking great, but now he's gone. There he comes, he's coming back around. So he was part of a pair. I did have a female as well. The female died a long time ago, and it's just him in one tank, and I thought, well, A, that's a bit boring for him, and B, can't just have one fish in a whole tank. It's just a bit silly, really, isn't it? Unless it's a better fish, obviously. But I didn't want to just, take him back because I love his colours. He's very different from any of the other fish I've got in here as well. So I wanted to put him in the sort of community tank that I had. I don't want to call it a dumping ground, but that kind of is what it is. It's like a mix of everything. So yeah, we've got one rocket killie and we've got the one Lyotau killie as well so far. And then next up, we've got 2 Borneo suckers, also known as sort of hillstream loaches. Now these guys were actually in my fast flowing nano tank with a lot of what they called Pandagaras, and I took most of them all back to the shop. But these ones, I found them on the bottom of some stones, believe it or not, because obviously they suck to them. And then when you're like cleaning out a tank, they'll just hide everywhere. Anyway, I thought they'd sort of gone, we'd lost them, but we didn't. So again, I was like, yep, you can stay. You are forever immortalised in the fish studio. So we've got those 2. And you know, that's exactly the same tank with the next fish as well. That's how I've still got the next one. And the next fish is a single Pandagara. Now these fish are pretty much schooling fish, so I will be getting some more for them again like I had before. In fact, the ones I took back to the shop, I think they're still there. Now the Pandagara went and hid straight, oh, there's the killie. The Pandagara went and hid straight away in that gap. We've got the hill streams here, but if you look down the side there, we've got tons of room, which is good. So I should be able to keep this so tidy and looking really nice, just because I'll be able to get right in behind stuff, waft everything out. The killifish already seems to have found its little home back there. This one is right in the foreground. They're just cute little fish, these rocket ones, they're great. Again, most of these fish, except for that big killie, they kind of want to be in the school, so we're going to be doing stuff moving forward, but for now I'm just keeping them, observing them and enjoying them. Especially the hillstream loaches. So hillstreams, they actually like fast flowing water, lots of oxygen, that's their absolute optimum condition, but you can keep them in tanks with just sponge filters as well. Lots of people have done it successfully, and you know, LRB Aquatics, he breeds them in just, you know, water with sponge filters, so they don't always have to have a huge amount of flow. Oh, there's the Pandagara I just saw, right, going down the middle. Oh, see you later. Bye, mate. So I absolutely love that. It's not like massively planted like I always do, but it's not minimalist either. It's somewhere in the middle, very manageable, great looking if you ask me as well. But it now needs to go in its sort of final home, which is behind the desk, obviously, in that gap where we got it from initially. Oh look, I'm editing this video as I'm filming this video. Ooh, some kind of Inception stuff going on. So that's looking great. I'm now going to add in some water conditioner. You can do it afterwards, guys, don't worry, just a few little drops. I know what I'm doing by now. And then I'm also going to add in some beneficial bacteria as well. It's probably not necessary because, like I say, the filter is all cycled, but it's not going to hurt. I've got lots available, so I should use it. So that's a super duper easy one, guys. I mean, I like to specialize in stuff that you guys can recreate, build, whatever. I get real enjoyment out of that, and you've got to do the stuff that you enjoy most. And I just love this setup as well. Nice and simple. It looks great here as well next to the shrimp tank. Love it. Completely different styles. That one's got the you know, the black silicone, one's got really clear silicone, low on glass. Strip light versus LED floodlight. Same filter, mind you, but completely different. And I like that contrast that we've got there.